So I want to make up that follow-up video where I talk about exposing Ray for cheating for using that stalker texture. But if I'm honest with you, this isn't really about Ray, and this was intentional too. Because I feel as with this, we kind of need to come as a community to discuss this and decide if this should be allowed or not. And I want to clarify a couple things real quick too. I didn't make the exposing videos of Ray because I hated him. I just figured, if doing so, we can come as a community to discuss these kind of things. Obviously, it was done with the high FPS to the Hokage tech. Obviously, those were patched by the person who made choke points and Tamari's. So if these are now patched, why can't we patch this out? Because obviously it can possibly be done, or maybe as a community we can just, trust ourselves not to use this kind of exploit. But I just wanted to clarify that. With that said, let me get into what exactly I'm going to be talking about. So, if you paid attention to the workshop, there's been kind of a lot of texture editing within the workshop recently. To the Siren, to the FP, to the Husk, whatever. Right? So let me just do this. So if you notice here, the material for the centerfire is fully loaded, so it's the texture, right? Let's pull up the M14. Material for the M14 is fully loaded, so is the texture. Let's do the AF, right? AF fully loaded. M1911 fully loaded. So as you can kind of see here, what this exactly is showing is that the weapon skins are fully loaded, the base skins themselves. Because if you were to do the skins, right, so let's just go to the skin material for the AK-12. It's not loaded at all, right? But if you go to the actual base skin for the AK-12, it's fully loaded. So obviously Tripwire doesn't want you editing their actual skins themselves, but they're okay if you edit just the base skin. I mean, it kind of makes sense because it seems kind of counterintuitive for you to edit the I don't know the RGB center fire to make it gold when you can kind of just do that with the base skin itself. Because it's, at the end of the day, it'd only be like a first-person model anyways, so nobody else can really see it. But if you were to do the gold skin and then make it RGB, that'd be kind of like, what exactly is going on here? Um, but let's talk about this though. So let's pull up the siren, okay? Oh, that's weird. The siren isn't loaded at all. Okay. Let's pull up the fleshbound. Oh, weird. Fleshbound isn't loaded at all either. Okay, let's go to the Scrake. I did that wrong, but it's whatever, right? The Scrake isn't loaded either? I mean, I think that's kind of weird, actually. Don't you think? So why is it that the skins themselves, or the base skins for the weapons are loaded, but not the actual Scrakes or Fleshpound or anything else? Now, granted, if you go to the husk, for example, and you go to the material, it's fully loaded. I think this is just an oversight, honestly, by Tripwire. Let's be honest with you, this game's poorly coded, so I wouldn't be surprised if they accidentally made this package, loaded into the game. And pretty much what this is kind of indicating. So weapon skins, if you were to edit them, and what I mean by weapon skins, I'm just talking about just the base skin themselves. Weapon skins, obviously we are able to edit those without no issues because the game will launch those packages as soon as you launch the game, right? I mean, it makes sense because they're also in your inventory as well. So, because I mean, if you weren't able to edit, skins within your inventory within the menu, then I think that'll probably be an issue. But with anything else like the Scrake or the Flesh Pound or the Husk, once you actually launch into a server that, like an online server, it'll actually kick you out. And I want to show this real quick. So this is what I actually tried editing these myself. And of course, this is something entirely different, but it's the same concept because I tried the siren and everything else and it kicked me out. But when I did the weapon skins, it was totally fine. Now, granted, if you were to edit, um, the textures, it wouldn't kick you out, right? But if that's the case, then why is it that with the siren that's in the workshop to the flesh pound that's in the workshop, why is it that with these two things you have to edit the actual material itself and make it legitimate by using third-party software to make it legitimate? And if I remember correctly, in 99.9% of all games, editing files is actually banned. Because if you have to use third-party software to make files work as they shouldn't be, or not intentional, shouldn't that be banned? Because obviously within the SDK, as you clearly saw, despite the husk, obviously was intentional. Because Tripwire wouldn't want you to edit things to make them brighter. Now, granted, I know there's that white Scrake in the husk that has a brighter backpack, but I mean, I've asked various people. They said they don't really get that much of an advantage. And if we have to eventually ban those, I wouldn't mind, to be honest. But if the Scrake was like brighter than that, were like clear white bright, because honestly, that Scrake blends in. That white Scrake blends in, I think, a lot more than the brown Scrake. That's just me. And the Husk backpack, I mean, you should be aiming for the backpack anyways. And with that said as well, you could already make Killing Floor bright, by using Gamma. Or if you just play choke points, is using the mod Sky. So I mean, you could already make it bright as is just by using tools. But obviously, with this, if you were to make the Scrake like bright as hell, like just clear white bright, and you can see him a mile away, unlike the white Scrake, see with that green apron. If you were to see him, you could like, oh, okay, well that's a Scrake, but I'm not really quite sure exactly what I'm looking at here. But obviously, this is intentional. So as a community, I feel as we need to discuss this and do something about it. Because if making files legitimate is by using third-party software allowed, that's not really good for the integrity of Killing Floor 2 CD. Because if you're using casual play, sure, I don't really care. But if you're going for records and spreadsheets, I feel as we need to discuss this because it's something that can't simply be allowed. If other games ban it, then why can't we do it in Killing Floor? And yeah, I understand Tripwire isn't going to do anything about it, but we as a community need to do something about it. If that means patch it out or just not do it and just trust that we won't do it. I just don't see how using third-party software can be allowed within this community. It's like kind of sad, actually. And I feel as we need to discuss this. I've probably said that multiple times at this point. Um, and this kind of goes into Ray's Tucker texture. And again, I'm not talking about him because I hate him. I just want to kind of point it out, and this kind of goes hand in hand with what I just talked about for the past couple of minutes. If you have to edit something to make it legitimate, like the stalker, for example, even if it's fully loaded, but you're clearly making it brighter and you can clearly see it a lot better than most people, should that be allowed? Should raised sirens be allowed? Because if you saw, the siren material wasn't loaded unless if you actually load it and then edit it, but if you were to join a server, it would kick you based on the screenshot that I've had pulled up for the past couple minutes. So what what are we gonna do? That is a question that I'm gonna leave with everybody. Because if ultimately we decide to ban this, congratulations. That's another thing that we have now decided on. And you guys may also call me a schizo and whatever because I want this to be done. I just want Killing Floor to have a good reputation because this community is not really known to have a really good reputation because there's a lot of people out there that actually believe that Killing Floor 2 CD players are cheaters. I mean, mainly within the actual, community itself, for the Killing Floor 2 Discord. So, well, with that said, I believe that's all I really wanted to talk about. And I hope as a community we discuss this because obviously using third-party software, like I said, shouldn't be allowed. And if you're wondering as well if I'm ever going to show, the third-party software themselves, no. I don't want those on my computer again. Um, I felt scummy using those softwares, and I deleted them as soon as possible. What those softwares are, though, it's a hex editor and some like program that you can make yourself, or I believe it's some Unreal program. I don't really quite remember because I deleted that stuff off my computer to make them legitimate. So, like I said, though, I mean, third-party programs in any game is banned, so I don't really see why it can be the same for Killing Floor 2. But with that said, I'm done. I'm out. And I hope I don't have to make any other videos about other cheats, that other people are using and us having to come as a community to discuss it. I'm done. This is editor me real quick before I end the video. What I was talking more of is third party software to gain an advantage over others. Should it still be allowed for literally anything else, like say for character cosmetics? I don't think so, because again, I believe using third-party software to make files legitimate isn't really intended by Tripwire and really banned in literally every other game, even if it's just cosmetics. Because, like I mentioned before, the fact that the weapon skins are unloaded, are already loaded, but not the cosmetics or the Zads themselves, minus the husk, and I believe the stalker as well. I believe that's probably intentional, like I stated. So, third-party software to gain advantage over others, and basically just editing files to make them legitimate shouldn't be allowed. Anyways, I'm done.